Group in Austin.
Oh, hi y'all, I'm Katie Parker, I'm an alcoholic. Well, I'm here because of the entrance. I'd love to say it so I can share a message of hope, but it's all about that entrance. I personally think in life, every time you walk through the door, everyone should stand and clap. I mean, I'm telling you, it's goosebumps all the way up here. I don't remember the lights out last time, though. This should be interesting. It's like I see a bunch of shadows and 2 lights like I'm under arrest. It's like, okay, here we go. I do want to thank the committee. This is always a privilege and an honor, and thank you so much. And this conference is really special. Most of you may know, or for anyone who knows me knows I lost my husband in May, and I haven't been wanting to come talk at all because it was Charlie and I's gig. Oh, I hope I can make it through this without bawling. And so I thank you. It's tough. You know, there's nothing easy about grief, and it's a process. So I'm in the process. And but this conference has always touched me to the soul because it's got so much deep tradition to it. And one of the things that I'd like to say is please don't lose that. It's so important. A lot of conferences lose a lot of their pizzazz. You know, younger kids come in and change everything. Swear to God, I was raised by a World War II vet, man. Pull yourself up from your bootstraps and get a job. And so, you know, it's one of the things I love about this conference. You actually sit in a green room. I mean, that's pretty spectacular. And we're all equal. I just happen to be the one with the microphone tonight, you know, so I'm very, very grateful for that. I do love this conference. I thank every one of you guys that had something to do with it and put it on. I've been sober since October 28th, 1984, and for that I am truly grateful. It just blows me away. I'm in my 39th year of sobriety. I'll be 40 this year, and telling you, you quit putting poison in your body for 40 years and you look pretty good. You know, I got sober at 26 years old, and I had a 5-year-old little girl, and you know, I'll tell you, my understanding of that is, you know, I drugged that little girl in places she had no business being, and I know pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. And what makes me alcoholic is when I start, I can't stop, and I can't stop starting. I mean, that really sums up my alcoholism. I can tell you all my drinking escapades, but I kind of like talking about what my 40 years in AA has been like, because I think that's tough. Drinking is easy. Sober is tougher. You know, and we all, you know, lots of times we're like, you know, it's experience, strength, and hope. It should be hope, hope, and hope, you know. I mean, it's tough, man. You will skin your knees in sobriety. You will have some tough days in sobriety, and you'll have some amazing times. But for whatever reason, I walked through those doors, and I thought it was going to be great. And that has not been my experience. I am so grateful I am sober. I can tell you that. So grateful. My home group is the Primary Purpose Group in Austin, Texas. We meet on Tuesday nights at 7:30. 2701 South Lamar. Believe it or not, people hear this on recordings, and they actually show up at that meeting. It's great. Last week we had folks from Scotland, and you know, and the good thing is, you know, it was funny. One guy met him walking in, and he comes up to me, he goes, "Katie, they want to meet you." And I said, "Well, they came to see me." Next thing I know, my buddy PJ's trying to take him out to dinner and come to his house. They're coming to see me. What the heck? And the guy goes, "Are we supposed to be going to PJ's house?" I'm like, "No, you're coming to my house. You're coming to see me. You're coming to my house, man." You know, I'm a little bit like taking a drink out of a fire hose. That's what my husband used to always say, and I am. I'm once I get into this deal, I'm a lot coming at you. I'm extremely passionate about sobriety, and I'm passionate about this program. I'm also want to say that I'm not the power, I'm the vessel. I'm the vessel to help you get connected to the power. You know, I don't know what job you should take, what house you should buy. I like to say I don't know what boy you should date, but I do know what boy you should date. And that ain't the one you got, okay? Oh my God. We seem to struggle in the relationship department. And Charlie, whenever any of his guys would have trouble, he goes, let me let you talk to Katie. That's good point. Dr. Bob made a statement. Bill and Bob, they were remarkable men, and God worked through them in an incredible way. And they said some things that just landed on my heart. And Dr. Bob said, the directions are clear cut, but everybody has a different experience. And I think there's a lot being said in that. And the way I interpret that today, because when I came into AA, I didn't really misunderstand anything. I didn't know anything. So, and I came out of the womb a know-it-all. I don't know about you guys. I think alcoholism, know-it-all, right? Go hand in hand. And so I thought that you had to have the experience I had, or I had to find somebody that had that experience so I could talk to them. Come to find out, the directions are clear cut. I don't have to have had a divorce. I don't have to have been fired. I can help you through those things, understanding alcoholism and our malady, right? That restless, irritable, and discontented state of mind that we're in. So I think that statement's pretty profound when it's broken down and explained to me in a different way. I also think spiritual growth comes like maturity, right? What worked at 3 years sober doesn't work at 5 years sober. What works at 5 years sober doesn't work at 10 years sober. And the reason for that is it's just the same thing as growing up. In your 20s, you're bulletproof. Good God, you could stay up till 3 in the morning and then get up at 7 to go to work. That would kick my butt today. It would take me a week to get over going to bed at 3. It's like, oh God, when is I going to shake this thing, man? And so in your 20s, you're bulletproof, right? And in your 30s, you start trying to figure out what you want in life. Do you want to get married? Do you want kids? Do you want a house? Do you want a career? And in your 40s, you start looking back at it, trying to see, how'd you do? And then in your 50s, you're really getting on the other side of that to where you start to think about retirement, stuff like that. And then in your 60s, you're really clearly on, halfway through life, right? And Charlie used to say, you're on the back 9, you hope you're just not putting on the 18th hole, But in your 60s, you start realizing, it's just not that big a deal. Whatever. I've ceased fighting anyone or anything. I'm just not interested. Don't get me wrong. I take issue with a guy last week that said something to me on a Zoom meeting. I'd still like to take him out, Don't think I'm still not bugged. Did anybody see that Zoom meeting, by the way? I've done plenty of inventory on that. I'd love to say it, but I won't. But I will afterwards if you want to talk to me out there. Whew. So, let's see, where was I? But so this maturity thing, right? So the same thing happens in sobriety. I like to say what happens in sobriety that we don't see coming is that at certain times in sobriety, you hit walls and you don't even know it because life is good. So I think around 10 years sober, the gifts of sobriety start to pull us away. And I don't see that I'm leaving AA. I don't see that I'm going to be doing anything stupid in my life. I've just got a better job. I got more money. I got a family. And AA just starts going by the wayside. And so I always try to caution people that be aware that these walls that we hit aren't always bad. But they're trying to wake us up to the fact that we always suffer from alcoholism. And it is a fatal malady, right? You may not die, but you wish you were. And we drift into this darkness. So I like to talk about untreated alcoholism because I had it bad and I didn't even know I had it. I was doing 5 meetings a week, right? I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and I misunderstood some things. My thought and facts were off mark. And once again, how do you know what you don't know? I mean, I didn't know. I thought AA was about not drinking. So you get the booze off of me, and I got it from here. Man, I really thought alcohol was the problem. Come to find out that alcohol was the only thing that treated this malady of self-centeredness that I had, right? Alcohol was the solution. It wasn't the problem. And I remember the first time I heard somebody say that, I went, say that again? You've lost me. Because, see, life got good when I quit drinking. I was one of the lucky ones. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous and I fell in love with you guys on day 1. And see, here's something interesting, and this is something I love to do at conferences. How many of you guys, raise your hand, on day one loved AA? Look at that. I mean, that is a minority. I thought it was everyone. Because all I have to do is have a thought, and it's a fact, right? It's got to be true. And so what I realized today is I just bought a little bit of extra time, because there's people who come in on day one, they don't even want to be there for 20 minutes. And they are in way more danger than I was in the beginning, and that's just the fact, right? I mean, I did not realize that. So I thought alcohol was the problem, and then back in the 80s, I got sober in 84, counseling, and, you know, what color's your parachute, and, you know, all that was happening, and, you know, Bradshaw, and bring in the stuffed animal into an AA meeting and piss off the old timer. I swear, I love pissing off the old timer, so I'm ready for you young guys coming in trying to piss me off. Okay, it ain't gonna work. But the you know, we did codependency group therapy, and I'm never knocking counseling. I think counseling's a privilege. I've always believed counseling's a privilege. The only problem is when a counselor does their job, they're going to talk about who's in column 1. My dad. What did he do in column 2? Shame me, blah, blah, blah. Remember, I was raised by World War II veterans. You got spanked. I think it's okay. But, yeah, that was all what it was about in column 2. And column 3 was what it affected, right? My self-esteem, the way I value myself, my pride, the way I think others see me. You know, ambition, security, my wants, my needs, personal relationships, deep-seated ideas about life. And that's where the counselor stops, because that's their job, column 1, 2, and 3. AA's job is column 4. What were my faults and my mistakes? Let's see, I was a pain in the ass. Let's be very clear. I was a budding alcoholic. Any of y'all raised an alcoholic? Oh my gosh, I hope that's the one thing I hope for any parent in these rooms that is sober, that you got one in the wings, because it's tough. It's painful, it's tough, and you just want to hold their head underwater, you know. I'm telling you. So I always like to say, if you're going to counseling, I think it's wonderful, but take it to your sponsor so she can get you to see your faults and your mistakes. Because it's rarely ever one-sided, unless it's physical or sexual abuse, and that's a whole nother ball game. And then I thought, you know, I've always leaned toward Christianity, and so I thought, you know, the God experience was church. And one of the things that I say about that is, once again, there's absolutely nothing wrong. You want to sit at the ashram, you want to go, you know, levitate, meditate, you know, Joe Dispenza, whatever you want to do it along with Alcoholics Anonymous. You do it solely by itself, and I can promise you, you are in some trouble. And one of the things that I like to say is on page 27, when Carl Jung and Roland Hazard were talking, Carl Jung said, you need a vital spiritual experience. And Roland Hazard's response was, upon hearing this, our friend Roland Hazard was somewhat relieved, for he reflected that after all, he was a good church member. This hope, however, was destroyed by the doctor telling him that his religious convictions were very good. In his case, they did not spell the necessary, vital spiritual experience. Didn't read that part of the book, didn't get it, wouldn't have understood it at the time. And I mean, I had my church going days, you know, I'm all about this process, and I'm not following directions. I'm just doing what I think I need to do. I mean, any of you guys that come into Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't really know what we're doing in here, but I know I feel better, and I like my life, and I want to get this deal done. I think it's easier to get an alcoholic to stop drinking than it is to get one of us to quit playing God. You know, the not drinking part is pretty doggone easy. You know, I'm the youngest of 3. We were all born, you know, a year and a half, 2 years apart, and I mean, I was driven as a child. I came out of the womb like Mighty Mouse. You know what I mean? It's like, don't tell me I can't do it. I can do whatever I want to do. I mean, I was the toughest kid to raise ever. I was stubborn. I was hard-headed. You told me not to do it. I'm doing it. Don't dare me. Don't devil dog dare me. I will do it. Even if my life is at danger. You don't think I can jump over that cliff over to the... Watch me. You know, and I mean, that's just what I did. I had you know, I always like to look at ways that before I found alcohol, how did I treat my alcoholism, right? This malady that we have. How did I treat it? And my sister and I, we were 18 months apart, still are. And, I'd like to think I'm older than she is, but she's older than I am. And, we used to get a bunch of us in the bedroom, and you'd wrap a towel really tight and then just choke each other out. I called it hyperventilating. Apparently it's sexual now. Of course it is. Everything is. Good God, what has happened to us. It's like, don't even get me going there. So we choke each other out. And if you've ever done that, when you come back, it's like this. You're just, oh my God, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it, me. And you can always tell the difference between the Al-Anons and the alcoholics. The Al-Anons go running out of the room screaming, going, they're choking each other. And we're just like, I'm next. Of course, we got in tons of trouble because you had all these little hickeys all over your neck and had to quit. And then one time I did it at the bus stop with my sister, and she hit her head on the curb. And needless to say, that was it. And then I was a really sick kid, and it was called the croup back then. So I was really croupy. And we had Vicks Formula 44, and that back then it had a ton of alcohol in it. And I remember my mom would keep it right by my bed, and I'd have the humidifier. And I just take a pull off that thing all the time. And it never even occurred to me till I got sober that, interesting, very interesting. And I still drink my cough medicine that way. Now it comes with a little cup. It's like, get that cup out of here. My mom died when I was 8. She had a kidney disease, and that was back in the day, 1967, where kids weren't allowed in the hospital. It was just a different day and age. I loved my history. It wasn't bad. It was just different. And so we went in to say goodbye to her. It was just terrible. But you didn't have a lot of counseling. You weren't sending up balloons to heaven. It was just different back then. And my dad worked for Union Carbide, U.S. Steel, and we were living in Houston. He'd have to fly to Pittsburgh back and forth Monday through Friday. And my dad remarried 3 times in 18 months. And we had 4 live-in housekeepers. So just sit with that for a minute. And I swear to God, Charlie would say, boy, your dad could close a deal, couldn't he? Yes, he could. He was quite a swinging cat daddy. Ex-NFL football player. We had a blast in our house. My mom died. He put the little black and white TV on the kitchen table while we were eating dinner. And it was just like a bachelor pad. But I would have told you when I was in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous that's what made me alcoholic. See, I thought something made you alcoholic. I didn't even understand that. And what I understand today is I got a genetic bullet. Just like if every kid has blue eyes and I have brown eyes. I just got the genetic bullet of alcoholism. And I nurtured it, trust me, I nurtured it well. But what happened with my childhood is that it influenced my old ideas. See, the book is always talking about values and old ideas, and I thought the word old ideas meant bad ideas. No, I have very good old ideas, that I'm a good mother, but I'm really a better mother than you. And I'm a good AA, but I'm a better AA than you. See, the ego will take every good idea, old idea I have and turn it on me. That's just its design. Come on, the ego of the alcoholic's whole goal is to kill me. And it'll take anything good, anything bad, and it'll tear me up. It says that that in the book it cautions us about even behind a kind motive. I'm like, what? So now I got to watch out for being nice? Yeah, I'm a suck up. Well, yes, I am sometimes. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But so when I started drinking at 12, I don't know why that seems to be the magic drinking age for the alcoholic, but you hear most every alcoholic from the podium say, I started drinking at 12. And, but drinking your parents' booze, you're going to get caught. The booze was always sitting out with the cigarettes, but you have to be realistic. You didn't want to get in trouble for drinking your parents' booze, so me and my girlfriends would ride our Schwinn bikes down to the 7-Eleven, and we'd wait for the creepy guy to go buy us booze, and so now hear this loud and clear. I'm 12 and I'm working an angle with a man. Okay, so just FYI, when we come into AA, we don't turn into just a lily white virgin, okay? Someone's being had on that one. And so, you wait for the creepy guy, and then, all of a sudden we all know who he is. He pulls up. I go, hey, buddy, can you buy us some booze? And he goes, I sure can. Now, I'm thinking he's probably 40. He's probably 20. But we're 12. And so he goes and he buys us booze, and we're on our bike, so we're going to head right for the woods, and he's in his car, and we can lose him. He thinks he's going to come with us because he's creepy, okay? Don't ever lose sight of that. And we women, we intuitively know that the creepy guy's in the room today, right? Oh, yeah. Alcoholics Anonymous is full of the creepy guy. But you intuitively know it. And I swear, if the creepy guy's giving some woman trouble, just walk over to him and just ask the woman, go, knock it off. That's all you got to do. I've even seen people try to kick him out. I'm like, what? Let me go talk to him. Jesus, knock that off, buddy. God almighty. Well, my dad and I had a big old fight when I was 15 years old and I left home. He said, if you can't live under the rules of this house, you can't live here. Now, he didn't mean that, but he said it. And I saw that as an exit plan, exit stage right, man. And I left, and today I can tell you, I can't even imagine the amount of pain I caused my dad doing that. In the fit of a moment, he said something he deeply regretted, but he had too much pride, and so did I. And I saw it as an out. And I'm telling you what, guys, I'm such a conniver. I can work an angle on anything. That's one of the things I always have to watch out for in sobriety, is working an angle, because I'll even fool myself. I talked the principal into letting me stay in school. I had one of the teachers basically give me the answers to everything. I saw school as totally social. I still don't care for education. It does not float my boat, and never has. I'm a successful businesswoman without an education. But one of the things that I can tell you is, here's the deal. My daughter wanted to go to college, and I'm all for her going to college, if that's what she wanted. For me, it is not in the cards. And Charlie was really smart. He came from a family of educators, right? We were at some family reunion, and there was 19 teachers there. All they want to do is break me. Hey, come on, we can do this, Katie. I don't care. I don't care where Venezuela is, okay? I don't care. I just don't. I want to live life, and I don't. And so Charlie would say, I'd ask him, I'd say, honey, how do you spell? And he goes, let's sound it out. I'm like, okay, ain't happening. And then my daughter, my favorite one was, my daughter's just, smart as can be, college, the whole 9 yards. She was up in the Pacific Northwest, and we're sitting on the Puget Sound. And I said, honey, what is the altitude here, man? I am so tired. And she goes, Mom, this is sea level. And I looked at her and I go, but that's Mount Rainier right there. She goes, you have to be on it. I was like, okay. That was probably me in the 6th grade going, I got it now. It was Halloween in '84. I was dressed as Tina Turner, my hero. And man, I looked like her all except for the fact I wasn't black. I looked just like her, had the gold hair, the black dress. And I met a young man, and I chased him into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. He was 6 years sober, and I was 10 minutes, and it was a match made in heaven, man. It really was. I thought, oh my God. The minute I was hugging a guy, and I looked right into his eyes, and I went, I'm marrying that guy. And by golly, he kept going. He kept saying to me, Katie, this is all wrong. And I go, shh. Come to the light, baby. Shh. And the power that we women have. I love being a woman. But it's kind of one of those things where, Joe was just like, Katie, you're brand new sober, and he'd been at the Pacific Group, so he was a Texas boy, but he'd been out there with Clancy and June G, and as a matter of fact, it was Oh, I'm just Chuck C., who told him to come back to Texas, and he said he was sitting there talking to him, and so I'd heard all about AA. I felt like I was just already on the front lines, and needless to say, I fell in love with the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Joe and I ended up being married 20 years. We had another child. Don't ever think marriage is easy. Don't ever think marriage is easy. Have I said that enough? It is the greatest thing in the whole wide world, and it is challenging. You know, people are like, you and Charlie. I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. You know, I wanted to kill him a lot. And, you know, I mean, you talk about work on a relationship. Charlie and I were the yin and the yang. So you saw us for a weekend doing a big book study, and you thought we just had an unbelievable relationship. It was a lot of work. And I'd do it again with him. You know what I mean? I mean, I loved him. I loved Joe. And marriage is just a lot of work. It really is. Some people have a little less challenge, but I think if you're alcoholic, you got challenges. I just think you do. And so Joe and I came in, and we had the same sobriety date. He was just 6 years longer than I was. And yeah, I passed him up at some point. He did tell me that. And, but I mean, I passed him up I was just such a seeker. And one of the things that I can tell you is, you know, I think between 18 months and 3 years is when we hit a hard wall. And I think we've worked a program based on the abstinence of alcohol. And so between 18 months and 3 years, we're starting to work a program based on what the root of my troubles really are, is selfishness and self-centeredness. And that's the time where I think we're in more trouble than ever. And then we hit another wall, usually between 3 and 5, 5 and 7, 7 and 12, 12 and 15. Because, see, pain is the touchstone of growth. I rarely learn when I'm feeling great. I certainly enjoy it, don't get me wrong. But I'm seeking the power at this day and age at a level that is way harder than I thought it would be. And I mean, I am seeking deeply. And I don't ever really quit. But I'm a very disciplined person. I've been an athlete all my life, and I love the discipline that I have, and I got it from being an athlete. And I'm telling you what, if you don't have discipline, that would be the first thing I would encourage you to work on. And just work on it for today. Just for the rest of today. Make a commitment that you're going to do one small thing in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous or in the book. Because, see, we think it's kind of like, since I've been an athlete all my life, people want to lose weight, so they want to eat right, they want to exercise, they want to get enough sleep, they want to do everything at once, and then in 2 weeks they fail. And it's the same as in AA. You've got to take this thing and break it down. I just want to do this one step. I just want to try to focus on this one thing. And that's all you got to do, and I'm telling you, before you know it, then you're moving on to the second thing. And this discipline, it says in the book, it says that we are undisciplined. We ask God to discipline us in this very way He's just laid out. So the truth of the matter is, it's what we're working towards. Joe said he was 6 years sober. I was 3 years sober. He was 12 years sober, or 9 years, whatever. He was always 6 years more than me. Once again, do the math. I didn't pay attention. So, somebody will go, what's 20%? I got no idea. I don't. And so Joe said, Katie, I want you to go to church with me. And I was raised Catholic. I love, Catholics are great folks, you know. I CCD, catechism, doily on the head, the whole 9 yards. And my grandmother met the Pope and, you know, all this stuff. But it just didn't really float my boat as a kid. And so I told Joe, I really don't want to go. And he goes, no, Katie, you got to go, man. You got to go. You're going to really like this church. And I went begrudgingly. And, I mean, it was a non-denominational church, big screens like that. Oh, looks pretty good, huh? Except every time you turn your head, you can't see yourself. So big old screens like this, and the music was playing. And, I mean, I come in, I'm like, oh, my God. And I mean, I fell in love on day one with this church. It was, something spoke to me in that music, just to my soul. And I thought, you know what, this is where I need to be. And so the next thing you know, I mean, we're like chameleons, right? We take on wherever we are. Motorcycle rally, right? Junior league. And I mean, church, Joe and I looked Amish. I mean, I always like to say I started wearing underwear, for God's sakes, you know. Larsine, my dear friend Larsine Al-Anon, she said, I swear to God, I don't know why that's not in your literature. You alcoholics, none of you wear underwear. Oh my God. But it says on page 14, for if an alcoholic failed to enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he couldn't handle certain trials and low spots ahead. See, I didn't realize that we left AA. Now, we didn't leave our AA friends. We were all about our AA friends, but we left going to meetings. And we left a lot of stuff. We weren't doing any of the step work anyway. We were working with drunks, but we just left meetings. And I mean, 3 years into that church thing, we were stark raving crazy. Both of us were stark raving crazy. And Joe said, Katie, I'm not doing well. I said, I'm not either. And we'd already found plenty of people in the church we started not liking, and, the whole 9 yards. Everybody's bugging me. And so he said, we need to go back to AA, and we go back to our old home group. And there was, Ed Hasbrook and Victor Moody, and we sat down. And I mean to tell you guys that the feeling, I can touch that feeling today. And I leaned over to Joe and I said, my God, we're home. And he said, I know. And I said, I don't ever want to leave again. These are my people. This is my home. Will always be. There's plenty of other spiritual stuff I can do out there, but you guys are my home. And what I didn't realize is Joe and I entered into what I call meeting-based sobriety. Please don't hear that as a bad thing. For Joe and I, it turned into a very bad thing. But we just did meetings. We were sponsoring and everything, but we just didn't understand. We considered ourselves big book people, and I'm not saying you got to be. Trust me, you don't. Your sobriety may be fine. The alcoholic of my variety is crazy. I mean, I'm talking road rage crazy. I'm doing behavior I don't want anybody to see. And so, we're tooling along. I have no idea that we're doing oral AA, and, you go to a meeting and you relate to the pain and you walk away feeling good, but what I got is relief, not freedom. And I don't realize that. And after a while, that adds up to a lot of, what I call untreated alcoholism for me. Once again, it may not be for you, but for me it was. And on page 25 it says, if you're a serious alcoholic as we were, and we believe there's no middle of the road solution. We were in a position where life was becoming impossible. If we had passed into this region from which there is no return through human aid, we had but two alternatives. One was to go on to the bitter end, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation the best we could, and the other was to accept spiritual help. They seem awfully simple, but this is talking about life had become impossible. I guarantee there's somebody sitting in this room today with that feeling, and you can't figure out why. And I had it. I didn't know. I didn't realize that I was in as much trouble as I was in. The book talks about a self-imposed crisis we can't postpone or evade. Either God's everything or He's nothing. And if I told somebody how much trouble I felt like I was in, they go, where is God in all of that? Well, He's obviously not here. What, am I supposed to just lob God on it? Come on. I mean, I am wrapped tight. And when I'm wrapped tight, we got trouble. I'm the kind of gal who takes a step forward. And I got hosts of stories of taking a step forward. I mean, somebody would say to me, would you rather be right or happy? Well, I'd rather slap you, but I'll tell you. The answer is, I'd rather be right. And if happiness follows, well, lucky me. See, that stuff is a mere code of morals for me. If you're going to throw a principle at me, I don't do that very well. I need to put pen to paper and get to the point where I really see that I'm a hypocrite. I find out that there's tremendous freedom in being a hypocrite. See, the minute somebody drives past me on their phone and kind of almost hits me, I cannot believe it. It's unbelievable. What are they doing? And then about 20 minutes later, my phone rang, and I have to pick it up. And I do a little swerve. See, one time on the way to the airport, I'll never forget this, Charlie and I are driving, and we're always late, and we're driving, and this Escalade just almost hits us. It, peels out and comes sideways, runs off the road, gets back on, and I'm just appalled. And then I thought, I could be him. I could be that crazy guy driving like that. See, the hypocrite, there's so much freedom in understanding that I'm a hypocrite. I really can't tell you how important that is. And that's that little piece between column 3 and column 4 of the resentment inventory. Is it possible that they, like myself, are sick too? Right? Is it possible that those folks that have hurt me so badly are maybe as sick as I am? And I can get some freedom there. Well, lo and behold, Joe and I are tooling along. We're probably, another, 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe another 3 years in meeting-based sobriety, not realizing that we're, pretty unprotected for he and I of the alcoholics of our variety. And he gets sick. He gets really, really sick. And I don't know what's wrong with him, but something's wrong with him. And this girl suggests, we have catastrophic insurance. And so the doctor recommends some head scans, MRIs. Well, that's not covered under catastrophic. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And this girl at my meeting said, Katie, you ought to go drive a school bus. You can get an instant HMO in the United States, is where it's just good insurance coverage. And I thought, you know what? I'm a girl who gets stuff done. I can do that. And so I go get this bus job, and I'm thinking nothing of it. I'm thinking I'm going to get the job. I'm going to get the insurance. I already have my whole career. That just means I got to get up at 5:30 a.m. Didn't play that into the equation till day one. Get the job, do the thing, end up getting the job of driving the school bus. And I'm thinking, you know what, we're going to get Joe down there in a week because you get instant insurance. Get Joe down there, see a neurologist, get this deal rolling, right? He's not going to be able to see a neurologist for 3 months. I'm like, oh no, we're not doing that. And so I call my GP, and he says, you know what, Katie? He goes, why don't you just go into the emergency room and tell him he's having some problems in his brain. They'll scan his head right away. So I tell Joe, I'm taking you to the emergency room, and I really, honestly, guys, I don't think anything of it. And so we go have lunch, it's not like he's got his arm cut off. I mean, we're just going to go get his head scanned. So we take him in the emergency room, and sure enough, the doc is like, so you think there's something wrong with his head? And I'm like, yes, that's why we're here. And Western medicine and I don't always see eye to eye. And so I'm already cocky, and this guy, I happen to have a cocky doctor, and, we're both coming together. And so I had told Joe, I said, look, you need to fail whatever test they ask you to do. Just, is that a surprising statement to you guys? Tell me you're angle workers, okay? Yeah, fail the test, because we ain't leaving here with the doc saying I'm not scanning your head. Let's not forget, I'm driving a school bus, okay? And so the doc says, so I told Joe, fail the test. Whatever he says to do the opposite. So the guy says, touch your nose, and Joe goes, he's like, touch your elbow. And I get behind the doctor, I'm going, Jesus, what are you doing, dude? And lo and behold, the doc finally says, what's 2 + 2? And Joe says, I should know that. And I don't know it. And he says, we'll go ahead and scan your head. And I thought, finally. So he goes, scans his head, and we're in there for an hour and a half waiting. And that doc comes in, he puts his hand here, and he goes, my God. He said, he has a gigantic brain tumor. He said, it's about as big as a grapefruit. And he goes, you're not going anywhere. You're getting checked in. And I mean, I'm like, what? So we get into the hospital, and AA does what AA does. Everybody's showing up, and just, it was just spectacular. I wouldn't want to be a member of any other fellowship than Alcoholics Anonymous. And he had a 14-hour surgery, and we were in the hospital 11 days, and the doc came out and sat down, and he said, I can't believe it's not cancer. It's benign. It's been growing for years. And he said, but he'll never work another day in his life. And I'm telling you, my very first thought was, I'm going to be driving this damn school bus. Oh my God. I always like to say, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous, okay? You got the same doggone thing I got. I just didn't say it, right? I'm not going to say that. But that was my very first thought. Typically, when someone dies, your first thought is, God darn it, when is the funeral? How's this going to affect me? That's our problem, right? We are self-centered to the core of our being. We're not malicious, vicious, conceited, any of that stuff. We are just so self-consumed. That's what it's trying to wake me up to. And I'm telling you what, when that doc told me he was never going to work another day in his life, we were a 2-income family. It felt like I'd swallowed a tennis ball. And I mean, the pain that we went through was unbelievable, unbelievable. Joe had some pretty severe brain damage, and he couldn't work. And so all I knew to do, we were a 2-income family. We had one kid in college. I just worked my tail off. Man, I did everything I possibly could. I ended up driving that goddamn school bus for 3 years. Just think about me, untreated alcoholism, driving a school bus, okay? Got to be up at 5:30, got to whack the wheels for some stupid reason. I did it. I have no idea you're listening for some sort of noise. I could have cared less. I just had to let everybody know I was doing it. And then I got the gas bus because I like to drive fast. I still drive fast. I have a sports car. If they could have made a school bus as a sports car, I'd have drove one. I drove that bus so goddamn fast. They tried to give me a diesel that had air conditioning. No. I want the gas bus. It's plenty fast. And I made the best of that school bus driving, I'm telling you, but I was wrapped tight, cocked, locked, and loaded. There was a guy in a BMW. I was in a fairly affluent neighborhood, and I'm struggling like crazy, and this guy in the BMW, you know, if you got 6 stops on a street and you're leaving your house, you want to try to beat the bus before they turn into that street, right? Because they don't want to have to wait all the way down. And this guy pissed me off so bad, because he put those kids in danger. And man, you want to make me crazy. You endanger a small child. I don't care who you are, I'm stepping in the middle of it. And he would fly down the street. So one day I was so mad, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to creep along here. And he starts hauling butt down towards me, and I don't even have a stop, and I just pop out the reds. And he hits his brakes, and he goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I go, "Who's got the power now, brother? Huh?" Tried doing that on my watch. I mean, I have thousands of bus stories, but my favorite one is on a bus. You can get that back end to kick up off the ground pretty well. And there was these 2 humps and then a dead end, and you have to take a right. And the kids always wanted the back end of the bus to bounce, you know. And they're like, "Come on, Miss Kate, come on, Miss Kate." I'm like, no, I can't do it. And then one day I looked up in the mirror, because your whole life is the mirror. You can't turn around in a bus unless you want to end up in the ditch. So everything's here. And I looked up there, and I saw I had like 7 boys. And I thought, oh, they're boys. How can you hurt a boy? You know. And my son was one of them, right? I said, "Hey, get to the back of the bus. I'm going to go ahead and hit you over these bumps." And so I gas it, and I swear to God, you know that scene in Armageddon when they're getting up and they're getting air, and Ben Stiller or Ben Affleck is like, and we are getting so much air, and it's slow motion. I look up in the mirror, and those kids are all the way to the roof going. And I thought, oh my God. And you can't there's nothing you can do but hope for the best. And when we came down, I swear it seemed like we got air for 10 minutes. When we came down, you heard this. And I mean, they were like this. And I'm making sure no necks are broken, no collarbones. I didn't, kill anybody. And I go, "What the heck was that?" We go outside. I blew all 4 valve stems off the back. Now, let me tell you something. I can't lose this job. I have to have this insurance. I'm only doing the job for the insurance. One of my checks was 32 cents one time. So I need this insurance. And those kids were like rats from a sinking ship, man. I mean, they were gone. And I get on the radio, and I'm like, "Yeah, turtle bus to base." And my buddy at base goes, Billy, he goes, "Yeah, turtle bus, what's up?" I go, "Billy, man, I got to tell you, I just blew all 4 valve stems off the back end of my bus." And the big old boss man had a radio on his hip, and he goes, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm over on such and Lisa Drive." And he goes, "We're on our way. We'll be there in 15 minutes. And sure enough, they were there. And my big boss was a good man, solid values, good, solid man. And he looks down at the wheels, and he looks up the hill, and he looks at the wheels, and he goes, "You don't know what happened?" And I'm telling you what, I can lie. I can lie to you right now. I said, "No, sir, I do not." And he goes, "Because I couldn't lose the job." And, people go, "I don't lie." I said, "You just lied saying you don't lie." Come on. I'll call it a white lie. This one wasn't a white lie. But long way around the barn, you know, he was such a good man, and I kept that job, and I had to keep that job. It took me 15 years to make that amends to him. 15. In sobriety. I was like 15 years sober when I did it. So I made that amends at 30 years sober. Okay, just do the math there. And, oh my God, he was so, I told him I had to lie to get his phone number. I mean, oh my God. I finally got his phone number, and it was Thanksgiving, and I called him, and I said, he said, so I understand you want to call me to give me thanks? And I said, well, and he goes, get with it, Katie. What is it? I said, well, it's about those valve stems. And, I mean, he did the most uncomfortable laugh I have ever lived through. Went on forever. And then he said, you know, Katie, I knew what happened. And I said, well, the reason I want you to hear me loud and clear is that I made you step outside your values to keep me working. See, I didn't just lie to you. I put you in a predicament that risked your own job, and you did that for me. And he said, I knew that, and I knew what I was doing. And he said, I always liked you, and I knew you didn't mean to hurt those kids, and you didn't mean to do what you did. And it was just an incredible 15-minute conversation. And you know, once again, people always like to say, you know, you restore my faith in man. And don't ever forget that when it comes to making the amends, no matter how humiliating and humbling it is, we want to make those amends to people. And you know, Joe, unfortunately, you know, it was very tough times. He was sick for 6 years, and he ended up relapsing, and it was devastating. I didn't know relapse was an option. That may baffle you, but ask yourself down deep inside, do you think you really could go back out? And my answer is no. Well, it's not no anymore. I know that that's there. That's not there every day. But I know if I get myself in too much trouble and step away from the disciplines, I'm in real trouble. And Joe went back out and relapsed on heroin and died of a heroin overdose. And, oh, it's devastating. Absolutely devastating. I was married to that man for 20 years. I was growing old with him. Sometimes I just say, that's all I ever want to do is grow old with somebody. I'm a marrying gal. Man, I marry one guy and one guy only. So you got to make it through the eye of my needle. And if you make it through there, we're going to be together forever. And Joe and I were really going to be married forever. And I'd lost my mind, absolutely lost my mind. I'm in untreated alcoholism. I have not written a piece of inventory in 16 years. Didn't know you had to. I'm sponsoring people, and all my sponsorship is all based on counseling. I'm saying that guy's not good for you. We don't even need to write inventory. Just dump him. I mean, oh my God, you can't imagine what was coming out of my mouth. And it was all good intentions, right? But long way around the barn, Charlie has had his plane crash, and you know, Charlie, you know, married a lot, quickly, ran through it quickly, and he'd had his plane crash. I'd lost Joe, and we stumbled upon Mark Houston. And I'm telling you, this man absolutely woke Charlie up, not me. I was sitting there thinking we were at a big book weekend. We wouldn't have driven across town for a big book meeting. And Charlie's like, man, Katie, we need to go to this big book meeting, and big book weekend. I go, for the whole goddamn weekend? We're going to sit there and talk about the big book? Yuck. And, yeah, really, yuck. Written in 1935. No, thank you. And so we're sitting there, and Charlie's having an amazing experience. And I'm thinking Mark Houston's a cute guy, you know. He's kind of handsome. You know, looks a little bit like the Marlboro Man. So I went over to ask Mark a question, because that's the kind of girl I am. And I asked him a question, and he takes his hit off this cigarette, and he just laughs basically in my face. And I thought, interesting. I don't like you already. And I left. And I packed my bags, and I tried to leave, and it was out at a Girl Scout camp, and it was a caliche road, which is oyster shell, pouring down rain. And Charlie goes, Katie, could you just give the man a chance? And he's having an amazing experience, and thank God he was. Because, see, God sends lifeboat after lifeboat after lifeboat. Now, I don't see them as lifeboats till I look back. And Charlie was my lifeboat. I wouldn't have stayed for anybody else but Charlie. He was my best friend. He was like a brother to me. And he kept telling me, you stay in this boat. And sure enough, together, we woke up in a level I didn't even realize I needed to wake up. And we started down a completely different road. Man, we understood the book and started studying it at a level. Our meeting is a really good way to learn the book. And I've come to find out the third step meant something much different than I thought. The third step is talking about the root of my problem is selfishness and self-centeredness. I'm thinking I was voted 4 years in a row in high school most likable. I am not selfish and self-centered. Charlie is. I see it in him. Big, big, big. But I missed it. I'm really a giver. People like me. And I mean, I swear to God, that's what I thought. And when it says selfishness and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. We're driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. So I understand today, when I'm wrapped around the axle, it's because I'm driven. I can't think of anything but. And that's why throwing a prayer at it is not going to touch my personality. It just never does touch my personality. I got to call Marty. She's got to give it to me from an entirely different angle. I mean, it requires a lot. Now, not so much today at 39 years, but it required a lot when I was going through untreated alcoholism. Met Mike Lorenz. Oh my God, Mike Lorenz is such a great guy. He said one time to me, I had issue with somebody because that's the kind of gal I am. Who else out here has a lot of issue with people? Oh, come on. Jeez Louise. So I had issue with this guy, and he wasn't seeing things right, and he was wrong, and he needed to know he was wrong, and blah, 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 blah. And Mike said, Katie, what would happen if you took the high road? I was totally stumped. I said, well, I never have. I said, and even worse, I don't even know how to get there. And I kid you not, guys, that was a 100% stopped in my tracks. And so he said, well, what are you so afraid of? And I was like, oh, now don't go talking about fear. I'm the girl who takes a step forward. And we did this work behind it, and oh my God, all of a sudden I realized there's no jerks on the high road. It's really quite lovely up there. You don't have to be the sheriff of the world. If not me, who? Who is going to straighten out these crazy people in AA? Who is going to straighten out the people in the grocery store, for God's sake? There's mayhem there. Anywhere there's a line in the airport, mayhem. I am driven to watch lines. It's, no. I always have a pace car. I got, It's just of my nature, man. I gotta be the first. I gotta grab it first. I gotta be right. Now today I'm better than I've ever been. I mean, you are getting the toned down version of Katie. I know it's hard to believe. I do know it's hard to believe. But the truth of the matter is, guys, and really the beauty of what I've gone through, where I'm at, is understanding that I am really like who I am. I always have liked me, but I really like me today. I like the new, calm down Katie. In a week, I'll be 66. And I'm just, I know. It's the best. I mean, if I had a decade to stay in, I'd have stayed in my 40s. Everybody's like, I'm turning 40. Love it. Love it. I'd go back to my 40s. If I had a chance to go back to my 40s and the body of my 40s, the skin of your 60s, for God's sakes, what happened? It's like you woke up one morning and it just fell. Well, I have to put my skin on first. Oh my God. My girlfriend that's about 15 years older than me, she goes, you just wait till your skin falls. It's like overnight. Just one day it's up, one day it's down, and it never goes back up. Just tell it. Just saying. Just saying. Telling you. I tell you, I was going to go into the third step, and I was going to go into a whole lot of things, but I'm just going to leave it at what I did because, like I said, guys, this conference is so doggone special. And some of you guys are about the book and some aren't. So don't let me turn you off to what I said. Please, please don't. Everybody walks at their own pace. Everybody does AA the way they want to do AA. And I say rock on, man. That's one of the things about this fellowship that I love so much is that we can go anywhere we want and like our home group. I hope you like your home group. I love my home group. And there was a time I wouldn't have walked into a meeting that we were studying the big book if you paid me. Because I just wasn't there with it. There's a quote that I really like, and it says, "The mind is like water. When it's turbulent, it's hard to see. And when it's calm, everything becomes clear." And I have a turbulent mind if I'm not careful, very turbulent, and all I see is what I need to get. Now, like I said, I'm not that much that way anymore. Getting older has made me realize I just don't have the game. I don't have the energy. But don't get me wrong, I can lose it from time to time too. I proved that last week. But one of the things that I think is important to look at is I like to talk to the guy who's sitting in the room and is hurting really bad and doesn't know why, because I know you're here. I mean, we have that. We suffer from this stuff. And I call it middle management. You know, the new guy is the blood. And the guy with time is the oxygen. The blood can't make it without the oxygen. So I'm always offering that there is more out there for you, and I'll be here all weekend. I wanted to leave a little piece of Charlie with you guys, and I hesitated doing this, but I miss my husband so bad I can't stand it. And it's the first time I've traveled without him, and I thought I'd be able to do it pretty well. And I was a crazy woman. I mean, I couldn't get my suitcase in the car, and I'm just, you ladies, you know when you're PMS and you're trying to get a shirt off the rack and you pull the whole goddamn rack down, and then you turn around and look at it and go, I remember PMS. Well, I had it all day yesterday. And I mean to tell you, I was crazy. It was like I couldn't get the cord under. How do you like that? You know, and just, and I thought, oh my God. And then I got to the airport late, and I swear to God, I always blame Charlie for being late, and maybe it's me. It was me. And Charlie did everything. I swear I really fought being a kept woman. I didn't like it. I'm independent. I can do my own. And then Charlie, my sponsor said, Katie, lean into it, honey. Lean into it. And now, now he's gone and I'm lost. I'm so lost. I'd been lost if I wasn't a kept woman, but Charlie was a big guy. He was a man's man, but he had a softest heart you have ever seen. And he loved to write me love letters. And I got thousands of them, and I'm so grateful I do. And this was one that he did for our anniversary. It was in October. And it says, "My dearest Katie, on this, our 13th wedding anniversary, I want to tell you how much I love you and how much you mean to me. You are the rock of my life, and I'm so grateful for you. Our family depends upon you for so much strength, guidance, and support. We'd be lost without you, even though I'm sure that it sometimes feels like you meet resistance to your advice. I only want to briefly mention to you what a wonderful caregiver you are. Next spring will be 20 years that we have been a couple. You are the light of my life, and these years have been the happiest and most fulfilling years of my life. I'm so proud to be your husband. My love always, Charlie. Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege."